Hey everyone, welcome to the show. I have updates for you guys about the completely senseless war with Iran. We are now up to six U.S. military members who have been killed. The death toll at the girls' school in Iran has risen. So the Guardian reported, or a lot of places reported on this, but the Guardian reported that nearly 170 people died in that first strike that was on that girls' school, dozens of whom, as I mentioned before, were little girls. And we're talking as young as 7 years old. So this is because of Donald Trump, because of his handler, Bibi Netanyahu, as well. So here's the article if you guys want to go take a look at it. Just the most horrific, heartbreaking stories of what they've found in the rubble. I can't even bring myself to talk about it. I'll break down, but I encourage you all to go read this to see how vile this was. So, for anyone who's out there cheering this on, and what I find amazing and just so ironic is it seems to be all the same people who claim that they care so much about freeing women from this oppressive regime in Iran. Really? Freaking hypocrites. Freaking hypocrites. Go fuck yourself. Okay? This was unnecessary. And new reporting shows that the girls' school may have been hit because the Trump administration had outdated information. So take a look at this. This was another article. It's like a joke. I mean, if it wasn't so tragic, it would be a joke. This is the level of ineptitude of the Donald Trump regime. So evidently, in 2013, there were satellite images that showed that a portion of this building housed the Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps and their naval base. And so they thought that's what they were hitting, it seems like. And we're learning more about the appalling reasons why Donald Trump did this. In a nutshell, he got dog walked. He got dog walked by Netanyahu, and he walked him right into this war. So the New York Times reported that in numerous meetings with Donald Trump, Netanyahu pressured him to strike Iran. And you guys will recall, for the past couple of months, everybody's like, why is Bibi Netanyahu back at the White House? Oh, Netanyahu's coming back to the U.S. again. I mean, it was like every other week they were meeting at the White House. And take a listen to what Secretary of State Marco Rubio had to say. He basically admitted this.
We knew that there was going to be an Israeli action. We knew that that would precipitate an attack against American forces. And we knew that if we didn't preemptively go after them before they launched those attacks, we would suffer higher casualties and perhaps even higher those killed. And then we would all be here answering questions about why we knew that and didn't act.
Yeah, so he admits it. He admits it. I'm sorry, but anyone who still doesn't understand that the Israeli government, the Israeli government owns and controls our government here in the U.S., you're just naive. You're naive or you're delusional. We fund Israel. We supply weapons to Israel. They can't financially or militarily do shit without us. So that gives us all the leverage. Why couldn't we jerk a knot in their tail and say, no, you're not going to go strike Iran. And if you do, you're not getting another dime or another weapon from us. I don't get... I mean, I do, really, but, you have to ask yourself, how is it that this tiny little country pushes everyone around, including the U.S. government, the government of the wealthiest, most powerful, apparently, nation on the planet that can just go around indiscriminately bombing everyone. And yet we're getting run around by the nose by Israel, by this tiny little country. Do not tell me that they don't have compromising material, that they don't have Epstein videos on all of our so-called leaders. And we appear to have a bunch of religious zealot freaks running our military, which is compounding this. So there is no one willing to stand up and end this insanity. And we know this because there's an independent journalist named Jonathan Larson. Actually, I think he's independent. He just reported that a military support organization has received complaints saying that U.S. military commanders are telling their troops that, oh, don't worry about this war. This is a good thing because this is part of God's plan to bring around the end times. I wish I was kidding about this, but take a look at this article. So this was on his Substack page. And basically, these people are nut jobs. Okay. And I'm not talking about, one or two people complained about this. The group that he was referring to, it's called Military Religious Freedom Foundation. They have received more than they had received, it could be more by now, they had received over 110 complaints between Saturday and Monday. So from the day that Donald Trump launched this war until 2 days later, they received over 100 complaints from military members. And here's part of what he wrote. He said, a combat unit commander told non-commissioned officers at a briefing Monday that the Iran war is part of God's plan and that President Donald Trump was anointed by Jesus. This is a direct quote, anointed by Jesus to light the signal fire in Iran to cause Armageddon and mark his return to earth, meaning Jesus' return to earth. According to a complaint by a non-commissioned officer, from Saturday morning through Monday night, more than 110 similar complaints about commanders in every branch of the military had been logged by the Military Religious Freedom Foundation. The complaints came from more than 40 different units spread across at least 30 military installations, the MRFF told me Monday night. This is terrifying. This is who is running our military. We have a bunch of crazy Bible thumper, zealots who want the end of the world to come. Oh my God. Why is this not a hair on fire moment? Why is this not on every single freaking news channel? You know why? Because a lot of them are on the same page. A lot of them agree with this shit. This is insanity. And one complaint, they said, came from a soldier who he himself is a Christian. But he said he was concerned because in his unit, there's all kinds, there's Jewish people, there's Muslims, and a lot of them are very uncomfortable with all of this, obviously, because this is like a Christian, theological position, and there's no logic here. There is no logic being employed. And he said his commander, quote, urged us to tell our troops that this was all part of God's divine plan. And he specifically referenced numerous citations out of the book of Revelation referring to Armageddon and the imminent return of Jesus Christ. So these people are like giddy about this. They're not like, war is hell. We hate to bomb people. It's terrible that we, have to go take lives. but this is necessary. No, they love this. And they were saying that they believe that the war needs to be as bloody as possible to fulfill the prophecy. These are truly mentally disturbed people, and they're in control of this war. And Donald Trump is sitting back as someone who has not a religious bone in his body, and he has no idea what he's doing. He has admitted this, that like, oh, yeah, we don't know, like, could last few days, could last, 4 weeks. We could end up in a worse position. We could end up with like people in charge over there who are even worse. So, gee, what could go wrong besides everything? And then, speaking of which, here's some of the chaos that we're seeing as a result of this illegal and totally unnecessary war. So, as you guys may have heard, there was a 53-year-old man who drove past a bar in Austin, Texas on Sunday. This was on Sunday morning last weekend. Drove past a few times and then opens fire on the people who were sitting outside, and then gets out and starts chasing after and gunning, down people as they're running away. So here's one of the articles about this. So he killed 2 people, he wounded 14 other people, and he was wearing a hoodie that said "Property of Allah," and he had a t-shirt on underneath it with an Iranian flag. Now, this man was killed by the police, so I don't know, I'm sure they're investigating, but I don't know what the investigation is turning up. When they searched his SUV, they found a Quran, and evidently he had a history of mental health issues and run-ins with the police. So we don't know if this was just someone who was, mentally ill and this triggered him. We don't know if this was a, full-blown terrorist attack, but it very well could be. It could be in retaliation for this Iran attack. And we could face more of these attacks here in the US. And, are we going to be prepared to stop them? I mean, look who we have in charge. Oh, googly-eyed Kash Patel. And what do you know? Kash Patel just last week fired 12 FBI agents who monitor these exact types of threats. Again, complete and total incompetence. So just 3 days before Trump started this war, Patel fired the members of an elite unit that's called the CI-12. They were monitoring Iranian threats. What the frick? What are these people doing? Like, seriously, you couldn't write a worst comedy of errors. And then Trump has left Americans to just twist in the wind. He has left them to be targeted by Iran and their allies. I don't know if you guys heard about this, but he set up no evacuation plan. There are thousands of Americans right at this moment who are stranded in foreign countries. They have no way to get home because flights are all being canceled. I mentioned that the other day. Flights in and out of the region are all being canceled because obviously nobody wants to get hit by an errant bomb and get in the middle of this. And nobody's traveling into the area as nobody wants to be in the middle of all of this. So yeah, airlines are like, yeah, well, we're not going to take a chance. And the Trump administration announced, oh, well, you know what? Not a problem. Here's a hotline. Everyone throughout the world, if you need help, you're in this area, Americans, call this hotline for assistance. Guess what happens when they call this hotline? They apparently hear a message that says this, quote, "Please do not rely on the U.S. government for assisted departure or evacuation. At this time, there are currently no United States evacuation points." Again, I'm not joking. I wish I was making this up. And here's what Trump said. He was asked about this evacuation error, I guess you could call it, failure, and why there weren't any plans in place. Here was his response.
Well, Israel, commercial air travel right now is severely restricted in the Middle East, and thousands of Americans are stranded. Why wasn't there an evacuation plan, and will you send planes to get people out?
Well, because it happened all very quickly. We thought, and I thought maybe more so than most, I could ask Marco, but I thought we were going to have a situation where we were going to be attacked.
That's it. That's it, you guys. Yeah, that explains it. It all just happened so fast. Couldn't think about my, constituents, my own voters, and others who might be stranded. I mean, first of all, no, it did not happen so fast. Like I said, he and Bibi were meeting for weeks. And new reporting says this was in the works. This was being planned for weeks with Netanyahu. And if Trump really thought that Iran was going to attack the US, which is a dubious claim, but let's say that's true. Let's give him the benefit of the doubt. Basically, what he's saying then is, yeah, well, American citizens didn't merit any consideration. Even though he should have known that they were going to be targeted, right? That there would be retaliation against people. And it's not like Americans can seek assistance or refuge in an embassy or something like that, because they're all being shut down because some of them have now been struck with bombs. So here's an article about that. So as you guys see here, the Saudi embassy was hit. There was also a U.S. consulate in Dubai, which was struck. So the U.S. announced they're shutting everything down. Now, of course, if we had a real leader, someone with half a brain running the country, all of this would have been done in advance, right? And, you hear the other side saying, well, he didn't want to telegraph what he was going to do. You guys think he's just going to come out and tell everybody what he has planned. And, that just is so stupid. Why would he want the other? No, you let them think. I mean, if he was negotiating in good faith, which we now know he pretty much was not, but if he wanted them to think, look, I'm negotiating in good faith, but don't take this for granted and don't think I won't do something, that would have been the perfect excuse. Like, hey, we're negotiating in good faith, but we want to, make sure our people are safe just in case this escalates. So we're going to get everybody out of the region. I mean, that would have concerned the Iranians, right? But now we know, I mean, that more than anything shows you that Donald Trump had no intention of negotiating for real, that he was not interested. I mean, these people said they were willing to give him a better deal than what they gave Obama. They were willing to say, look, not only will we stop, stockpiling uranium, but we're going to give you a ton of what we already have. Like, they offered to go even further. And yet this was the response from the US. So this was not about making sure that they didn't have uranium, they weren't, making weapons. This was done on Bibi's behalf. This was done because Lord Bibi, Netanyahu, jerks our chain left and right. I mean, it's just so clear, right? The U.S. would have issued travel advisories. They would have warned Americans, hey, get out of the region before we start murdering little girls. Like, Israel did that. There was a report, and this definitely set off my radar. Like, within a few days before this bombing started, Israel started calling everyone back to the country. And then, in keeping with this incompetence theme, apparently 3 of our F-15 fighter jets were shot down, and they're saying, oh yeah, that was, friendly fire. We did that in friendly fire. Now, luckily, none of the crew members were killed. They all ejected and they were all okay. But each one of those jets cost $100 million. So we just lost, on top of everything else, we just lost $300 million worth of military equipment because something, 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 blah, 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 Israel. So, I mean, can we deduct that money from the billions that we hand them every year? Right? While we Americans are losing health care, insurance, health insurance, we're paying more for groceries and gas now because of them, because of their war. And even a former Republican representative, you may have heard of him, his name is Denver Riggleman, he slammed this incident. He was in the military in the past, and Riggleman said that this was likely due to a, quote, lack of training plus faulty mission planning plus panic. Like I always say, elect a turd, expect a shit show. So that's what we're getting. All right, guys, when I hear more, I will let you know. Thank you all so much for watching and listening. Please like, share, and subscribe. Please donate if you can. Love you all. Take care. Talk with you soon.